Welcome in to Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are looking at Jacksonville Jaguars starting quarterback Trevor Lawrence. 2021 first overall pick in the NFL draft. We're taking a look back at his rookie year. More importantly, breaking down expectations and answering a question. Will Trevor Lawrence take a massive leap in year two? If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe on YouTube. We really appreciate your support. Duval could not do it without you guys. You can follow myself on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag and check out genjag.com for all the latest Jaguars news, analysis, and Duval gear. So before we look forward, we need to look backwards. What happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2021? Well, of course, coaching happened. Urban Meyer happened. It was an untenable situation from Urban Meyer's own preparation, his work ethic, and then you look at his communication with not only coaches, with players, with people inside that building. It was a completely untenable situation. This was the perfect example of a CEO, which essentially Urban Meyer was the CEO of the Jacksonville Jaguars, a leader, a manager, whatever you want to call them, completely failing everyone around them. Again, zero work ethic, zero plan, zero respect for everyone around him. And this is not going to be an Urban Meyer tirade, but the bottom line is the coaching in Jacksonville last year was horrific. And it's easy to blame the rest of the coaching staff as well. I don't want to get too much into that because we don't know exactly what the coaches were allowed to do, what they weren't allowed to do, how much was Urban Meyer holding these guys over the fire. We know it was often. But certainly coaching failed the 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars from the top down. The offensive line, when you look at what happened with Trevor, it was subpar for a lot of the year. There was some solid outings for the entire offensive line. Rarely, though, was it working entirely in unison. They ended up giving up too much pressure. Trevor was able to avoid a lot of the pressure with his pocket management, which we'll get into later, but there was too much pressure on Trevor Lawrence. The receivers, some of these guys have shown a lot of ability throughout their careers, and then they go and have the worst season that they've ever had in 2021, especially like Laviska Shenault. Marvin Jones at times was more inconsistent than you're used to seeing from him, but we're seeing drops, poor spacing, running into each other on routes multiple times throughout the year. And again, just the drops was the worst thing. I mean, they led the league in drops. It was unbelievable how poor the Jaguars were at catching the easy passes, catching the deep balls down the field. You name it, the Jaguars struggled as a whole to get it done. And injuries certainly had their impact. DJ Chark missed most of the season, and Jamal Agnew missed time after he broke out. A lot of guys missed a lot of time for the Jaguars receiving core, unfortunately. You look at the running backs, injuries and mismanagement, certainly mismanagement of James Robinson throughout the season. Travis Etienne got injured in the preseason. So you look at the running backs, that didn't help either, that whole situation, how the coaching went, the deployment of the backs, the injuries. So that was unfortunate, certainly. Tight ends, Dan Arnold played really well until he got hurt. Chris Manhertz, most people remember him for the game where I think he drew 3 penalties, but overall you brought him in to be a solid blocker, and he was that for most of the season. So I didn't really have much problem with the tight end play. Arnold was a very, very effective and efficient receiver for Trevor Lawrence last year. Dan Arnold was. But overall, it just did not work out. You have the terrible coaching situation. You have receivers getting injured. You have some receivers that are healthy playing the worst football of their life. You have mismanagement of the running back situation. You have an offensive line room that is underperforming to an extent. You lost Brandon Linder for a long period of time. He's retired now. So it was And of course, you lost A.J. Cann, who you went into the season as your starter at right guard. Ben Barch had to play pretty much the whole season. So a lot went wrong for the 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars. They won 3 games. Trevor Lawrence did finish the season on a high note. After you were able to get Urban Meyer out of there, you saw Trevor look a little more comfortable. And we shouldn't forget about what happened just the week before that. The Jags absolutely got blasted by the Patriots before they beat the Colts. So it's not like it was perfect at the end of the season. But you go into the offseason with some momentum. You know what Trevor Lawrence has in him. We've seen it. So you feel pretty good, right? Even though Trevor Lawrence's rookie year was not what you wanted, you're able to get Urban Meyer out of the building. And then 2022 offseason, you're able to bring in Doug Peterson. Super Bowl winning head coach, winning record, 3 playoff appearances in 5 years with the Eagles. Beloved by former players, former quarterback himself who came up in the Andy Reid tree as a play caller, and he still calls the plays. He called the plays on that 2017 Super Bowl champion team. He got second-year quarterback Carson Wentz playing at an MVP level prior to his injury in 2017, and then got Nick Foles to guide them to the Super Bowl with really a good offensive line, some decent receivers, some decent backs, and a good defense. That's what you're looking at. That's Doug Peterson for you. Didn't work out at the end in Philly. They had different visions, he and ownership did, of how to handle the staff moving forward, and so that ended up leading to his departure. But Doug Peterson took the year off in 2021. He's come back. He is in the building. He is already just tenfold more competent than Urban Meyer was, and I hate to keep comparing him to Urban Meyer, but that's the last head coach that was in Jacksonville. Doug Peterson brings in Phil Rauscher from Minnesota to come up and help with that zone rushing attack that you're going to see a ton of. Outside zone, inside zone, they're going to run it. His right-hand man, Press Taylor, who he wanted to be the offensive coordinator in Philly, is now the offensive coordinator in Duval. So you've got a good relationship there. Handful of former quarterbacks helping out Trevor, including Press Taylor, Mike McCoy, Jim Bob Cooter, Doug Peterson himself. Then you bring in some talent and free agency, right? Christian Kirk, Zay Jones at wide receiver. Evan Ingram is essentially a jumbo slot. He's a receiver for you. Brandon Scherf is one of the more talented guards in football, consistently a Pro Bowler. Yes, there are injury concerns, but he's made the Pro Bowl in 5 out of 7 years. You sign Cam Robinson to an extension after placing the franchise tag on him. You've locked in what you're doing at left tackle, at least for the immediate future. All that leads me to 2022 expectations, right? What are we expecting from this offense in 2022? Jaguars offense is going to feature more West Coast principles. And again, I can't talk about Trevor Lawrence and his expectations in 2022 without looking at what's happening around him. So West Coast principles where you get the ball out quick, a ton of zone rushing concepts, as I mentioned, plenty of play action off of that. You've seen that in Doug Peterson's history. You'll see deep shots. You'll see RPOs, zone read. You'll see plenty of pre-snap motion. A lot more of the stuff you wanted to see all year in 2021. I believe you'll see an offense that builds off of itself. Route concepts that make sense with each other. They don't just exist on the same plane. They actually, this route helps this route get open. Passing concepts, legitimate NFL passing concepts. What a concept, right? You're going to set up plays. We'll give you this look now and run something completely different from the same look later in the game. I think that right there is going to help a ton with this offense. I expect every position group to be better and more reliable around Trevor Lawrence. It starts up front. The O-line will be better. Instead of being in the lower third, in my opinion, they'll probably be more in that middle tier of offensive lines. Cam Robinson has shown improvement every single season as a starter. You're going to probably get a little improvement from him going into his year 27 season. Walker Little should take over for Jawan Taylor at right tackle. That should be an improvement. Brandon Scherf is now the best player on that side of the ball, maybe the best player on the entire team at right guard. And then between Tyler Shatley, Luke Fortner, and Ben Barch, Two of those guys will be starting at left guard and center. You feel good about that. There'll be a better run blocking and pass blocking offensive line, partially due to talent, but partially due to the coaching and the scheme that they are going to be in. This is going to be a much more friendly, offensive line friendly scheme when you've got the talent to move, which they do. They have the athleticism, and they're going to get the ball out quick. They're going to do a lot of stuff that makes it difficult for defensive lines to really pin their ears back. Then you look at Christian Kirk. He's on track to be the leading target. Inside-outside versatility, wins early in routes, takes the top off the defense, is a reliable pass catcher. Zay Jones and Marvin Jones, I expect these guys to see a ton of work. They're going to be in the right place at the right time and catch the ones that they're supposed to. They'll occasionally go above and beyond, but I wouldn't be expecting it regularly. Zay Jones is a great blocker as well, and so is Christian Kirk. So you're going to see those guys. They're not only helping Trevor in the passing game, they're helping that running game get going. Evan Ingram, he's a wild card for me. He's going to catch a ton of passes. He has every year of his career and make big plays, but how many negative plays are there going to be? Drops, poor routes. Will his overall impact be positive? Will he have the best year of his career in a system that suits his skill set more so than what he dealt with in New York? I think so. And Dan Arnold is a very reliable pass catcher who can threaten and create mismatches both vertically and horizontally on the football field. You look at James Robinson, hopefully he's back for the start of the regular season, but even if he's not, you've got Travis Etienne, who's supposed to be ready for training camp. You've got Snoop Connor, who all three of these guys can block and catch balls out of the backfield, and they certainly fit in the zone rushing attack. But we haven't been talking much about Trevor himself, so we're going to get into that right now. Trevor Lawrence, his personal growth will be huge. Needs to be a little more accurate at times, especially on some of the easy ones. You just saw some balls get away from him a little bit too high on some of these short out routes. But overall, his accuracy, especially down the field, it's impeccable. But, we're going to try to work on a little things for Trevor Lawrence to improve himself personally as well. He learned a ton last year. Rarely made the same mistakes twice, so you like that. Really was able to take in what was happening and learn from it and move on the football field. And lastly, I think he just needs to let the offense come to him. He tried to play a lot of hero ball down the stretch last year. You can't do that in the NFL, at least not this early in your career. There's better coaching around him. There's more talent around him. He doesn't need to play hero ball for this team to be competitive. He simply doesn't. And I think Doug Peterson's going to instill that in him. And he knows that himself. Trevor's a smart guy. He's a heady guy. He knows he was trying to do too much in 2021. Again, especially down the stretch. So will Trevor Lawrence have a year two breakout? That is the question we are trying to answer here. And I'm not talking fantasy. I'm not talking stats. I'm just talking about taking a big step forward and what he needs to improve on, and the talent around him helping him more, and the coaching staff providing an infrastructure and a plan for him to succeed. So will Trevor Lawrence have a year two breakout? I absolutely think he will. He has one of the best arms in the game. He has incredible wheels, really great athlete, incredibly smart. He's a hard worker. He's a leader. He's already the face of the franchise. He had to become that during his rookie year, basically being the spokesperson for the team at times. Crazy what he had to deal with in year one. But again, one of the best arms in the games. You saw so many dropped balls last year that were just dimes deep down the field. He has great wheels, incredible pocket awareness and movement for such a young player. I mentioned that earlier. You look at the sack numbers from last year for the Jaguars, not atrocious. A lot of that was Trevor Lawrence. Slight step here, slight step up there, step to the right. Avoid pressure. I think being 2 years removed from Clemson's offense, which didn't do enough to prepare him for the NFL, will also help. I'd look for Trevor this year to double up on that touchdown to interception ratio, take a step forward in accuracy, especially in the short area of the field. And I think the completion percentage will improve pretty greatly thanks to improved pass catching options. A better scheme, a scheme that makes sense. Are these big expectations considering what we saw from the Jaguars offense in 2021? They sure are. But are they realistic? I believe so. Again, you have a professional coaching staff, a coach that knows how to coach offense, knows how to get the most out of quarterbacks, knows how to connect with the entire team. The Jaguars spent more resources this offseason really on the defensive side of the ball than they did the offense. So you're going to have a unit over there when you look at the additions of Foley Fatu Kasi, Foye Oluokun, Darius Williams, first, second, and third level of the defense. And then you bring in Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, Trayvon Walker. Yeah, that defense is going to be something else, and it's going to be a fun defense. It's going to be a Todd Bowles-inspired defense with Mike Caldwell calling the plays. You're going to attack. You're going to be multiple. You're going to confuse offenses. That's going to help Trevor Lawrence too. At the end of the season, I expect to still want the offensive line to be a little bit better. The tight end room is all on expiring deals, so I think you're going to be looking for help there. And I still think you're going to be looking for a true number one wide receiver to really come in and complement Christian Kirk. Marvin Jones is going into the last year of his deal, and he's up there in age. So I think you're still going to want to see some improvement in the roster around Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying this is a perfect roster, but it is much better. You are going to see much better results from the receivers, from the offensive line, from the running backs, and most importantly, from Trevor Lawrence himself. So yes, I'm expecting a massive year 2 breakout from Trevor Lawrence. Again, I think he's going to double up his touchdown to interception ratio, improve his completion percentage, and overall just have this offense moving the ball a lot more. You're going to be running the ball. I think you're going to be picking up a lot of first downs. I think you're going to get more chunk plays. All that. Thanks to Doug Peterson and his coaching staff, thanks to Trevor Lawrence's own improvements that he's been working on throughout the offseason, and thanks to the talent around him, you're going to see a much different team. I'm not trying to predict the Jaguars to go to the playoffs or anything like that at this point. I'm just saying this is going to be an improved football team on both sides of the ball, from the top down. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be one of the main beneficiaries of that. That's going to do it. Thank you for tuning in so much, Duval. We really do appreciate your support. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube and check genjag.com for all the latest Jaguars news, analysis, and Duval gear.